We're going to introduce trigonometric ratios. Now, what we learned so far about trigonometry is knowing how to label these sides. So if we have a given angle theta here, then this is my hypotenuse, this is my opposite side, and this is my adjacent side. So that's what we know so far. Now, what we're going to be doing now is to introduce trigonometric ratios that give these angles and sides some sort of a relationship. Okay, now the first trigonometric ratio I'm going to introduce is called sine. Okay, now sine theta, so sine of this angle theta, is given by the ratio opposite divided by hypotenuse. Okay, so it's this opposite side divided by the length of this hypotenuse side. Okay, now one way we can memorize this ratio is looking at this little word SOH, so. Okay, so S for sine, okay, equals to O for opposite over H for hypotenuse. Okay, we can just use this little word. It's not compulsory, but we can just use this little word to memorize. Okay, help us memorize that sine theta is opposite over hypotenuse. Now the next ratio we're going to introduce is called cosine, okay, which we can abbreviate to cos. Now cos theta, so cos of that angle, is given by the ratio adjacent over hypotenuse, and one way we can memorize that is given by the ratio, the word ca, okay, CAH. So C for cos equals to A for adjacent over H for hypotenuse. Now the last ratio I'm going to introduce is called tangent, which we can abbreviate to tan. So tan of the angle theta, so tan theta is equal to the sides opposite over the side adjacent, which we can also memorize using this little thing TOA, TOA. Okay, so T for tan equals to O for opposite and A for adjacent at the bottom. Okay, which we can nicely summarize by saying so ca toi. Okay, which we can use as a little phrase to memorize these trigonometric ratios. Okay, so the ratios are the important things to memorize, but so ca toi can also be a useful phrase to help us memorize those ratios. So using these ratios, let's try and answer some questions. So in question 1, we're going to have to find the sine alpha. So sine alpha, alpha being the angle here. Okay, so sine is going to be some sort of ratio. Okay, so what did we memorize before? We had SOH as so, okay, which was SOH, so sine equals to opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, that's one way we can memorize it. Now, opposite in this question, or in this triangle, opposite of this alpha is going to be given by C, that side length. Okay, and the hypotenuse, which we know is the longer side, is going to be that A. Okay, so sine alpha equals to C over A. Okay, that's the ratio that we have. Now in question 2, we have to find the sine beta. Okay, now beta is this angle up here, and we know that sine beta, okay, well sine equals to opposite over hypotenuse, right? So we're going to find the opposite and the hypotenuse for this triangle. So here's beta. Now the opposite side is going to be this one B, and the hypotenuse, which is going to be the same one, the longest side there, A. So sine beta will be the ratio B over A. Okay, so it's not too hard. Now question 3, we're going to have to find the cos of alpha. Okay, so here's alpha. Now what sort of ratio was cosine or cos alpha? What sort of ratio was it? Which we can memorize again from so ca, which was CAH. So cos equals to adjacent over hypotenuse, CAH. Okay, now adjacent. So adjacent to this angle alpha is the one right next to it. Okay, which is the one right next to it, which is B. Now hypotenuse again, which is always going to be the longer side, is going to be A. So cos alpha is B divided by A. Now cos beta. So here's beta. Now again, cos again is adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent for beta is going to be this C here, and hypotenuse, always going to be the longer side, is A there. So cos beta is C over A. Now tan alpha, so using tans. So tan was the ratio, it was, if we look at the phrase, it was so ca toi, so the last one was TOH. So we know tan equals to opposite over adjacent, TOA, sorry, not TOH, TOA. So opposite divided by adjacent. Okay, so alpha, this is alpha. The side opposite here is going to be C. Now the side opposite to alpha, the side adjacent to alpha is going to be this one, B. So opposite over adjacent, tan alpha is C on B. Okay, so it's not too hard. We're just going to memorize these trigonometric ratios. And finally, tan beta. Okay, so here's beta. And again, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So if this is beta, this will be my opposite side, B. And my adjacent will be the one right next to the angle beta, which is C. So tan beta equals to opposite over adjacent, which is B on C. Okay, and that's how we use our trigonometric ratios.